Live from the 607, it's the Ocho Duro Parlay Hour, where we're talking sports locally and nationally. Join the conversation on our social media with the hashtag ODPH, because here we go.
Instead of looking deep inside, every word I have to say, keep it simple.
Welcome back for another edition of the ODPH podcast, better known as the Ocho Duro Parlay Hour. I'm your host, Ken M. Joining me in the studio, it's a co-host. It's Padawan J.
Hello, hello, hello.
And conspicuous by his absence is your coach, my coach, the coach, Coach Duffy. But Coach is handling things at home right now with everything going on with C-19. We wish everybody to be safe and healthy and stay inside. So Coach is going to be taking a little break from the podcast, but definitely interact with him on Twitter at OD Parlay Hour. Sometimes he's on there, but more importantly, at Coach Duffy11. And Pat has a message for him.
Be sure to tell him how great Charlie Weiss is and how much you want him back at the University of Notre Dame. And tell him how great John Calipari is and how much you want him coaching the New York Knicks.
Coach loves getting those messages, so definitely hit him up at Coach Duffy11.
Hit him up like every 5 minutes about it.
He does appreciate it. And obviously hit us up on Twitter as well at OD Parlay Hour. And you can find the link to there and our Facebook and our Instagram and all our social media accounts at OchoDuroParlayHour.com. And we have a lot to discuss about, so we definitely want to interact with you because even though most sports have been shut down, there is some news to be discussed of what's been going on. And leading that way is the NFL. Now, last week we were going over a lot of the free agent signings that were going on. This week there was a little more action going on with that and a little more follow-up too. Because the big contract that we were talking about was one Tom Brady signing with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Now, Pad, you are the Patriots fan in the room. I'm not trying to throw salt at you or So Wizard or Wondersoul or anybody that's Patriots fans. What is your take on the 2-year $50 million contract he signed?
I mean, good for him. You know, it's something he's never had. He's never been a big contract guy. You know, he's always taken the quote-unquote hometown discount. He's always had team-friendly discounts that, you know, in attempts to leave room for, you know, to sign some new players. And, you know, he did that for a lot of years. But, you know, if this is what he wanted, more power to him. You know, I bear no ill will, like I said last week, and I wish him all the best. And, you know, while it sucks for Patriots and the organization and fans because, you know, you don't really know what's going to go or what's going to happen. Even, you know, they just cut Steven Gostkowski yesterday, the franchise leader in points. Yeah, it's very clearly a transitional time, but you knew this was coming. And it's like I said last week, with a lot of things, and this included, you know it's coming and you know it's going to happen eventually, but just it's hard to believe it's going to be here until it's actually here. And while I didn't see it happening this way, I always kind of figured it'd be, you know, he'd be with them for the entire duration of his career. And then he'd do something maybe quietly, and, you know, maybe a post on the Players Tribune or some post on his website or something like that, just announcing his retirement. Very much in the way Tim Duncan did, where Tim Duncan announced his retirement at like 3 a.m. Eastern or something absurd like that. You know, not a lot of fanfare, no parade, no pomp and circumstance. Just, hey, I'm retiring. Thanks for the memories. You know, I always figured it'd go that way, but it didn't. But, you know, hey, more power to him, and I wish him the best.
It's very surreal to me to see outside looking in for being a Bills fan and always having to face him and everybody in Foxborough twice a year at least. It's always been a weird feeling knowing that now that the kings of that division are in a transition phase, and there's no other way to describe it. For Brady to leave on this level and obviously getting paid 2 years, $50 million guaranteed, no trade clause, and if I read correctly, he can't be franchise tagged either.
Interesting.
Which is a very interesting clause to get in.
It wouldn't surprise me, though, because, you know, he gets a lot of weird clauses in his contracts, and his contracts the last couple of years have always been weird and I don't mean that in a bad way or a negative way. You know, a lot of people I know were wondering when we were talking about it last week, well, why didn't he sign with the Buccaneers? Everyone knows he's going to the Buccaneers. Why hasn't he signed? His contract with the Patriots was worked in such a way that, like, they had to wait until the next day because that's when his contract with the Patriots voided. Because his contract with the Patriots, I think, was technically supposed to be like a 2-year deal, but it had some weird clause in it or something in it that it voided after a certain date. So they had to wait until that date to do it. So, you know, his contracts have always had weird clauses in them.
Yeah, and this one obviously is very favorable to him, and obviously to get him to Tampa Bay, which has never really been a free agent destination. Per se.
No, I mean they had their run in the Super Bowl back in 2002.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they've had some marginal success and making some highlights, and they've had some players come through that created some buzz, but never any. The website SB Nation has a great YouTube series called Collapse or something like that, where they talk about kind of the rise and then fall of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I highly recommend everyone go watch that because it's a fascinating watch. But like you said, they've never been a free agent haven where it's like, oh, I got to go to Tampa Bay. I mean, I get it's Florida. I get there are no state taxes. We know that clearly from the NBA and everything else. But like, Tampa Bay's always been that odd one out in terms of like football cities where it's like, okay, yeah, they're there and they've been there a while, but like they've never really done anything.
Right. I mean, they've had their flash in the pan. I mean, early on, like you're alluding to, when they had their Super Bowl run and when they had Warren Sapp down there and just kind of
Keyshawn Johnson and everything else.
Yeah, they've always had substantial players down there that have really carried them and made them relevant, I would say. I mean, they've never been really flashy, and we don't talk about them as dynasties like the Patriots or the Steelers or even the Cowboys to a lesser extent. With a Tampa Bay team that is very much always in flux, to get Tom Brady down there is a huge signing on a few different levels. One, for him to go there, that instantly gives them playoff credibility, in my opinion.
Yeah.
It will give them more substantial play and more consistent play than what they're going to have Jameis Winston.
Well, anybody can give you more consistent play than Jameis Winston.
Right, because Tom Brady will not be part of that 30-30 club.
No.
That will not be happening on his watch.
No.
And for Tampa Bay, they now get that stability to lead a young receiving core with Mike Evans and Chris Godwin, which, if I'm not mistaken, Godwin is actually going to give Brady his number. No questions asked.
Yeah.
And obviously, Brady has earned that right going down there. Plus, they have O.J. Howard at the tight end position.
Yeah.
They have players that can put up points. The run game is a little suspect, but that can be easily fixed because one thing that Brady's worked with in New England is not a dominant run game. It's a running back by committee.
Yeah.
So as long as they can catch screen passes, they should be fine.
I will say, though, the interesting thing, and I don't mean this in any sort of negative way, that being a Patriots fan, I know for a lot of years everyone asked or kind of speculated, who's the real reason for the success? Is it Brady or is it Belichick? And we're about to find out.
We definitely are.
Not wishing any, like I said, not wishing any ill will, not wishing any sort of, failures on Brady's part, but for those who have really wondered, is it Belichick's success or Belichick's scheming that won all those Super Bowls, or was it Brady's just intangibles? We're about to find out because this is a whole new ball game.
It definitely is, and this is a question that I know I've been reading on a lot of different sites about: is where does the franchise go from here? Where do you side? Do you side with Brady or do you side with Belichick? And this is such a weird topic to be discussing, but it needs to be had. Belichick has always been the leader of the evil empire, so to speak. The Patriot way is Belichick.
Yeah.
Brady has been the perfect soldier. If you want to break it down in comic book terms, Professor X and Cyclops.
Yeah.
Hand in hand.
Yeah.
Now it's where Brady is going to go on his own. Can he win without Belichick? That's the headline now. And then I know that I was reading about Terry Bradshaw was making some comments that Brady's only playing for his ego. Yeah, he definitely is. If one thing you can say about Tom Brady, he's always a competitor. And now you've challenged him because can he do this on his own? And that is the true question. He is going to a team that, like I said, has a great wide receiver core and something he's been desperately asking for years. And unfortunately, he hasn't had it in New England. He's worked with what they've given him. And some players have panned out, some haven't. Antonio Brown, Josh Gordon, the list goes on and on and on. Now he has a true pair of wide receivers that can put up some points. The run game, like we say, to be determined. Can the defense keep him in games? And what Bruce Arians is trying to build down in Tampa Bay, it's not out of the realm of thought. Am I saying pencil him in for the Super Bowl? No, not yet.
No.
They still have to go through Drew Brees and the Saints.
I'll say I looked on, I believe it was Bleacher Report's website, their schedule, and it wasn't and it was just who they were playing. They got a rough schedule. They've got Minnesota, they've got the Saints obviously twice a year, they've got Green Bay, and then they've also got Kansas City. They've got a rough schedule.
They've got a rough schedule, but the one thing is with Brady at the helm, he's going to have that team ready to go. It's going to be a true difference of attitude, and like how we were touching upon during the draft show when we were talking about Baker Mayfield going to Cleveland and how they needed a change of culture. The same can be said for Tampa Bay. That Brady is going to come in down there and instill the Patriot way, or shall we just call it the Brady way, into that team. Now, it just depends on what he's going to be allowed to really take control of with Arians and how that relationship is going to go, because we don't know.
Right.
The one thing is with Belichick and Brady, it was always two minds thinking the same path.
Right.
And that's why they work so well together.
All right, here we go. I pulled it up. So it doesn't give you dates or times or anything like that, but their schedule the last half of the year. They've got a game against New Orleans. The next week is a game against the Packers. After that's a game against the Vikings. Then you've got a game against the Chiefs, game against the Chargers, and a game against the Rams to close out the year.
It's going to be a tough stretch for them. It's not to say they can't do it, though. And that's the one thing I can't emphasize enough. Brady will step up. It's just a matter of will the rest of the team do it for him. Mm-hmm. He's got 2 years locked in at least.
Yeah.
So if he doesn't see signs of improvement by the time he leaves, he's going to be very close to 45.
Yeah.
I'm saying Father Time has to catch him eventually.
Yeah.
Is this one going to be a situation where it's like Peyton Manning going to Denver? You have the MVP season and then you fall off the next year?
It could be.
It could be. Not wishing it on him, but let us be honest. How is his arm strength going to be here? Is he going to be able to throw the deep ball downfield to Evans and Godwin?
Yeah.
We don't know, and that's the real intangible of this. But either way, it's a big move for Tampa Bay. It's a big sign that they really want to be taken seriously as a contender. You can say they overpaid for him, sure.
Yeah.
But you get a lot more with Brady than you would out of the other free agent quarterbacks that you could sign right now.
I'll tell you what, though, I did read with Brady and all that gone, now the Patriots and everybody else the Patriots have lost, they've got a boatload of compensation picks. They've also got at least like $100 million in cap space coming up next offseason.
Well, it's
or something crazy like that.
Well, to flip the coin on the other side now, too, with New England, where do you go from here? Obviously, you signed Brian Hoyer, but that's not exactly, if we can use a wrestling term, putting butts in the seats.
No.
But what is the overall plan that you're going to do now? So let me ask you, the Patriots fan, what do you want to see out of your team?
I mean, I go with Hoyer just because he knows the system. He's familiar with the system. Yeah, he's been in and out, but it realistically hasn't changed all that much. Just maybe some personnel and some routes and all that, but he knows the system. And if from the reports I've read, they really believe in Jared Stidham, who they drafted last year. And first, I remember they brought him in garbage time. They were up on whatever, I believe it was Cleveland or whoever the heck it was, and the first pass was like a pick six.
Yep.
They really believe in this kid. I'm not sure I do, but then again, we haven't seen much from the kid. I wouldn't rule it out. Maybe not this year, but maybe next year, looking out and going to get drafting somebody and just having them really learn.
Well, that's what they're going to need to do, and you just really need to have a mentor there. And this is where I guess is going to be the next thing that we focus on for the NFL offseason. Cam Newton was just released from the Panthers as we were recording. So he is now an unrestricted free agent. He can sign wherever he wants. He is a veteran quarterback. Could he play up in New England? Absolutely. Is he going to be the right fit there?
Right.
Hard to say. We've never really seen a mobile quarterback under Belichick's system. Please correct me if I'm wrong.
No.
So, not to say Cam is going to be running like Cam of old.
And I know there's speculation about Deshaun Watson going up there because Deshaun Watson has liked some tweets on Twitter about him getting traded to play with Belichick.
Well, if you are buying into the absolutely wild stories coming out about Bill O'Brien and DeAndre Hopkins,
right,
and how that marriage has dissolved, yeah, I could understand a lot of players leaving, and rightfully so if all those reports are true.
Yeah, and I looked it up. It's next offseason, Patriots are going to have $109 million in cap space.
So they'll be able to go after somebody.
Yep.
So it's just a matter of, do they want to wait, or do they see somebody in the draft they can go get?
Right.
Obviously, trying to make a play for Burrows is not going to be in the cards.
That ain't happening.
No, they're not going to move up that much in the first round to get an elite quarterback that's coming out of this class. So it's going to be a matter of what can fill in the parts until then.
Right.
Cam Newton could be, sure. I don't see him going up there, though. I really don't.
No.
Deshaun Watson is a very interesting idea, though.
He's young.
He's young. He could definitely play in that system.
Mm-hmm.
And if he is really not happy with how Bill O'Brien's been running the ship, and obviously it's been very vocal about there are a lot of players that are not happy with all these reports that are allegedly coming out.
Right.
I wouldn't doubt the Patriots making some deal to get him.
Could be.
But then it also goes, where does Houston go from here? Because you were, 2 games away from the Super Bowl?
Mm-hmm.
Now, granted, you just gave away your star wide receiver. And to replace him with what? A running back that hasn't been able to stay healthy since his MVP type season?
Right.
I just don't know what they're doing down in Houston. That's why I'm saying it's possible. I could see the Patriots dealing some kind of insane draft pick compensation package to Houston, and Houston would buy it.
I'll say, because I want to say they're sitting on, is it like 5 or 6, if not 7 compensation picks? It's something crazy because they've lost like 4, 5, 6 players, that have all gone away in free agency. So they're looking at least 5 compensation picks.
It's absolutely crazy what they're looking at. But
and for the record, if Deshaun Watson does leave, their current backup quarterback is one A.J. McCarron.
Well, you know that they'll go get somebody in the draft. Or you know what? I wouldn't even doubt this scenario. I'm just going to throw this karma out there.
Mm-hmm.
I would not doubt the Patriots going to get Deshaun Watson.
Could they? Could see it.
I can fully see that, and I don't doubt that if DeAndre Hopkins moved for as little as he did to Arizona, the Patriots have enough picks that Houston will buy it, and they will buy big. So that would leave a gap there. I don't doubt Cam Newton going to Houston as the replacement. Not saying it's the best fit, but I don't doubt that happening at this stage. I know that it's been rumored that Cam is going to about a bunch of different places.
Yeah.
I heard the Chargers. I heard the Bills, which I thought was laughable.
That's the one thing that keeps getting left out of this whole scenario is everyone with Brady and Tampa Bay and New England and this and that. Chargers still need a quarterback.
Yeah.
Like they're kind of the forgotten child at the party that you're supposed to be showing attention and love to every child at the birthday party and giving them all gifts or something like that. And they're like the one sitting in the corner without a gift.
And it's puzzling, too, because they're not a bad team.
No, they're all right.
They're all right. I mean, sure, you lost Melvin Gordon to Denver, which good luck with that.
Yeah.
I do not agree with that move. I thought that Denver overpaid for him, and Gordon has not been able to stay healthy past few years.
No.
So unless you're planning on pairing him with Lindsey and doing a 1-2 combo there, I don't know. I question that one a lot. But with the Chargers, you still have a great wide receiver core.
Mm-hmm.
You just signed Elker to, the backup money there, so he's going to take over as the number 1.
Right.
And he has produced way more than Gordon has.
Right.
So that being said,
well, and with the Chargers, you think about the free agent quarterbacks. There's not a whole lot out there. I mean, everyone's been talking about who is it? The dude out of Cincinnati.
Oh, Dalton.
Thank you. Andy Dalton's name's been getting thrown out every which way. But you got Cam Newton's available, Jameis Winston's available, but it's, and then what is it? Quarterback for Denver last year, but was in Baltimore before that.
Oh, Flacco.
Flacco's available, but he just flunked a physical and got released. So it's slim pickings in out in Charger land.
Well, I think what the Chargers are going to wind up doing, I believe Tyrod Taylor is their currently starting number 1. So unfortunately for him, he's going to be a transition quarterback for somebody they draft in the draft. Which I think they like the kid out of Oregon from all I've been hearing about. So I don't doubt that move happening. And Herbert is going to be taking over that spot, I believe, once he gets drafted. Because I think the Chargers, without looking at the sheet, have the number 6 pick, so they're right behind Miami. Miami's in love with Tua. So
I'm currently looking up the draft order right now. Bengals, Redskins, Lions, Giants, Dolphins, Chargers. Yep. You're right.
And everybody's penciling Herbert from Oregon. So I don't doubt that happening. And that would make a lot of sense too, but it's just going to be weird that LA is just kind of sitting back when they're in a position to win now.
Yeah.
It's not like they're in a full rebuild mode. Like that's what I find so just weird about this situation, that they're just waiting and to grab somebody now.
Yeah, you would have figured by now, because it's not a flashy team, and they're not exactly home run grand slam out of the park team that pencil them in for the Super Bowl, but they're a very good team. That it's surprising to me that not even just your average quarterback or above average quarterback hasn't signed there.
Yeah,
that you look there and go, all right, not exactly your franchise future, your starter for the next 5-10 years, but he's gonna fill the gap until you get somebody.
Yeah, you would figure Cam Newton would play perfect for that, so maybe they're waiting on him to see if they can entice him to come to LA. I don't know. It's just very weird to see from the outside. I mean, that's the easiest word I can describe it. That they're just sitting back and just letting everybody fall into place, and they're just going to take the scraps. I mean, that just tells they're going to go for a quarterback in the draft. But still, why would you mortgage this season as a waste? And to tank for what? I mean, unless you're already going to try tanking for Lawrence, which that's a whole different ball of wax. But why would you burn a season? That just doesn't make any sense to me.
Right.
So to see where Newton winds up, and then you got Jameis Winston floating around there too. And like I say, I know that I've been getting hit up on Twitter about Newton to Buffalo.
Yeah.
No.
Don't need him.
We don't need him. I would not doubt this. Not saying I want this. I want to very stress this. I don't doubt Winston signing with Buffalo as the backup.
Maybe.
I don't doubt that. Not saying I want him up there because I don't need that 30-30 up there. But I don't doubt that move happening. I just don't see Cam Newton playing at this stage as a backup because he feels he can go somewhere and start. And he probably can for some teams.
Right.
Buffalo's now one. Obviously, with Bean being the GM and McDermott as the coach and the Carolina background, sure, I know a lot of people are penciling that in, but is he going to take a backup job at this stage?
Yeah.
I don't see that, and I don't think he's going to even attempt to. I would say he can wind up in L.A.
Yeah.
Chicago is still, I mean, they have done the weirdest moves this offseason.
Well, and also in terms of backups, don't be surprised if it's somebody from outside the NFL because just a couple of days ago, the Carolina Panthers signed P.J. Walker, who was a quarterback in the XFL.
Yeah, so a lot of those XFL players are getting signed.
Yeah.
I know another quarterback just signed with the Kansas City Chiefs as Mahomes' backup.
Right.
So it's a weird time to be a quarterback, especially a free agent one. And for Winston, who knows where you're going to wind up?
Yeah.
Like I say, I'm not trying to say he's going to wind up in New England. I just don't see that.
No, God, no.
I don't see that marriage happening. I mean, that would be too wild to comprehend.
Belichick's had enough experience in the last couple of years with people who, need a lot of work in conforming or maybe adapting to the Patriots way that haven't worked out. I think you look at the track record and, there's no salvage in that.
No, there isn't. Winston is too reckless for their style. I would not doubt if Andy Dalton moves somewhere.
Yeah,
that
I could see him going to maybe the Chargers.
Yeah, that maybe Winston winds up in Cincinnati.
Yeah.
I could see that.
Yeah, no, I can see that. I can see Dalton maybe going to, like I said, the Chargers, where low risk, high reward type scenario where, okay, you're coming into a situation where it's good for him in that he's not going into another perpetual rebuilding year like he was in Cincinnati, where it felt like every other year they're hey, we're in rebuilding. Hey, we're in rebuilding. Well, you know what? We've been in rebuilding for the last 10 years. He'd be going into a situation where they've got a team, they're established. They might need a few parts, but every team does, and he can really come in and show his worth.
It's going to be an interesting time to see how this all pans out because we still got another week of free agency that we're still just jumping into now.
Yeah.
And especially with Cam being released, that's going to be the big story to watch. And does New England make a run for him or do they go for Deshaun Watson? Because the only other big-name free agent that's still on the market is Jadeveon Clowney. Mm-hmm. And I thought he was going to be locked and loaded for the Giants.
Right. Even Coach Duffy said as much.
Yeah. So to see him still out on the free agent market, that's very interesting as well. Mm-hmm. So any predictions where he winds up?
Not immediately. I mean, I'm not going to say New England just because they don't really need help on that end of the field, on that position of the field. I'm going to say, just because the defensive guy, he might end up in Detroit with Patricia.
Detroit would be a good fit for him.
Just because I can see as athletic and as nimble as he can be, I can see Patricia having some fun with him.
Detroit would be a good landing spot.
Or Minnesota.
Minnesota would be one too. I could also see him going to the Giants after all is said and done. Mm-hmm. I could. They desperately need some kind of help on that side of the ball. So I think he would really help them out. I mean, I could see him also going to Buffalo too, because with Shaq Lawson and whatever they're doing with his contract.
Right.
If they could get, Clowney for less, sure. I know they just signed somebody else from the Carolina team there that he's more of like a run stopper than he is for passing on defense. And I know they're making moves, and I like everything that Buffalo's done. I mean, the Diggs move has been very, very good thus far, but it's still the honeymoon phase. But for Clowney, he's going to wind up somewhere that they need desperate help immediately. The Bills would make some sense. Giants would make more sense.
Right.
But like you said, Detroit would be a perfect place too, because if they want to rebuild that defense up, and they're going to need to, That'd be a great landing spot.
Ooh, I'm scrolling through the ESPN NFL free agency tracker a couple of days ago. The Vikings did release veteran defensive end Everson Griffin. So they did lose a key member of their defense to free agency.
A lot of moves still happening, so we're going to definitely have to keep watching that as the week is going on, because that has been the biggest moving and shaking news going on in sports. But let us know what you think. Hit us up on those hashtags. Hashtag ODPH. What is your thoughts about the current state of the NFL free agency season? Do you love the move of Brady going to Tampa Bay, or don't you, and why? Plus, where do you think everybody else is going to wind up? Cam Newton, Deshaun Watson, Andy Dalton, Jameis Winston. The names go on and on. We need to have that discussion. So let's have one, but we're going to take a quick break first. We'll be right back.
Can you imagine a world immune to all forms of cancer?
Ladies and gentlemen, the time has come for our 4th annual live stream for the cure.
And this year, we need your help more than ever.
Please join us May 27th through May 31st for 48 hours of live content from guests and podcasts around the world.
We'll be aiming for our most ambitious goal to date as we try to raise $10,000 for the Cancer Research Institute.
Please visit www.livestreamforthecure.com for more information on this year's event and how you can be a part of it. Together, we can make a difference.
Hey, this is Matt James.
This is Julian Hepworth.
I'm Ross Marchuka.
And John McBride, and we're Shot at the Robots. You're listening to
ODPH.
Coming back for segment number 2 on this edition of the ODPH podcast, and let's talk a little pro wrestling. Let's run the ropes, shall we?
Wrestling!
Yes, there has been some wrestling news going on. Now, obviously, with everything going on with C19, there's been a lot of empty arena shows by WWE and AEW.
Yep.
So, that being said, there's been a lot of changes going on to the WrestleMania programming schedule. So, we're kind of jumping on that. So, Pad, you got the latest on that?
Yeah, so, of course, as everyone knows, with C19 going on, the CDC, or the Center for Disease Controls, if you're outside the States and aren't familiar with that moniker, when this was all ramping up and really kind of getting into the throes of things here stateside, recommended against having any gatherings public of 50 or more people. And that was countrywide, which obviously for WrestleMania, given it's like, 80,000, 70,000, whatever, 100,000 in the case of Dallas, 1,000 people all packed in together like sardines. That creates a bit of an issue.
Yeah.
So a couple weeks ago, the city council for Tampa Bay met and really, recommended against having WrestleMania take place because obviously of the health concerns and the health issues, but they were going to leave it up to WWE at the end of the day. They were giving them a week to make the decision whether they were going to hold it or not. To cancel it, and if they didn't make a decision, the city council was going to meet again and force their hand on the issue. Basically, hey, we're going to give you time to save face on this, and if you don't, well, you're going to lose some face on this.
Right.
So, turn around, and about a day or so later, it came down that WrestleMania would be moved from Raymond James Stadium, home of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in Tampa Bay, Florida, to the WWE Performance Center, which you've seen on episodes of Monday Night Raw and Friday Night SmackDown the last couple of weeks. There will be no crowds, just essential personnel, and that it will not only be taking place over one night, it will, as folks have kind of been hoping for the last couple of years, be taking place over the course of 2 nights. This will be taking place Saturday and then the Sunday like traditional.
Yeah, Saturday, April 4th and Sunday, April 5th. So they're going to split it 2 nights, kind of like how they do with New Japan Pro Wrestling's Wrestle Kingdom.
Which, thank you. I mean, if the rumored card count right now is true and accurate, we're up to 16 matches, and putting 16 matches on in the course of 6-7 hours, however long it ends up being, there's just not enough time. And by the end of it, I'm going to be half asleep and not even care what's going on. I'm just going to want it over in the fastest way possible. This, I feel, gives it more breathing room. It gives the wrestlers more ample time to go and do what they want to do and make every match memorable. I mean, it's a unique card. I know they're calling it too big for one night, but I really feel this gives them the chance to make this quite possibly one of the best WrestleManias ever.
To make this into a good instead of bad situation, I'm applauding what they're doing.
Yeah.
this has been a very tough time for everybody.
I realize Vince McMahon has been around the game, as folks like to say, a while. You know, his family's been in the wrestling business for what, 50 years, 60 years?
Oh God, yeah.
Decades. This is the first time they've ever run into this.
Right.
There's never been a situation like this where all of a sudden they're very in the motion and they go through the movements and everything. They're very used to everything. They're used to, okay, we hit this time here. All right, time to get ready for Mania and time to start building the set and doing this and doing that. They've never had an instance where, hey, you can't do this because it's a threat to not only your health, but everyone else's health.
Absolutely. So they're doing the right things by still, if they're going to do the show, they're going to have it in front of an empty crowd. And they're going to split up on 2 nights, so everybody is going to get more matches, which it works out for everybody that's a fan.
Yeah.
And I know that there's been just so much back and forth going online. Well, if it's not in front of a crowd, they shouldn't do the show.
Right.
Look, under the situation, if they want to do this, I'm completely fine with it.
Yeah.
Because it's still providing us entertainment that we unfortunately don't have right now with all the shutdown going on from C-19. And I'm saying this right now. I said this on the wrestling show on the 3FN network. And I will say this again. Do not doubt that as soon as the C-19 ban is lifted, that they do not do a WrestleMania type show to make it up to the fans.
I mean, they could very easily do a quote-unquote super showdown. Well, I think that was the name of at least one of the cards or a couple of cards.
Over in the Saudi Arabia show.
Over
That's
in
what
Saudi
it's
Arabia. I can see them doing that. I know the other thing I've read is that the Andre the Giant Battle Royal and the Women's Royal Rumble are off.
Yes.
Because of this C-19 going on, and that they're really recommending, no gatherings, close gatherings of more than 10 people. Well, when you're talking the Andre the Giant Battle Royal, you're talking upwards of like 30 people in the ring together. That's slightly violating that recommendation.
Correct.
So no Battle Royal, which, no disrespect to anyone in that, we're not really missing much on that. I love the Battle Royal. It's fun to watch. I know, what was it, when it was in Texas for WrestleMania 32, it was fun to see Shaq come down in the ring and have Shaq in it. So you get those fun, the one year was Damian Sandow was in the finals, and when it was the height of Mizdow and all that, it's got its fun moments, but at the end of the day, whoever wins it, they get a mention for like a month, and oh, hey, you're the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal winner, and then it just goes away.
Right, so it's not exactly going to ruin the show by it not being there.
Right.
And plus, it's a way for wrestlers to get on the card. Now, obviously, with being 2 nights, they're going to have to fill a lot of spots. So it's not to say that they won't be featuring a lot of wrestlers that were going to be in the Battle Royal, but this does provide for a better card, in my opinion. And like I say, I can't stress enough, I'm not doubting down the road that they don't do a Super Showdown in the States to make up for this.
Yeah.
So don't be too surprised if this throws off some endings to WrestleMania. So in front of the live crowd, it's a different reaction. I'm just going to throw that out there because one of matches, which I'm already going to say, I think is going to get changed, is Brock Lesnar versus Drew McIntyre.
That could be.
Because for Drew to win, they want that in front of a crowd. They want the big pop to win.
There's already been one match changed because of everything going on. The 6-pack match with Bayley for the SmackDown Women's title has already been changed to a fatal 5-way because Dave Meltzer is reporting that Dana Brooke is not able to compete as she's not feeling well and has self-quarantined herself.
Correct, and I believe Rey Mysterio
is under the same set of circumstances, so that's why you see Andrade teaming with, what is it, Garza?
Angel Garza.
Angel Garza going up against the Street Profits, which I know for me, I was like, wait, why is this going on? That doesn't make, and then I read the, I'm like, oh, okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, we had the same talk on our message group with 3FN last night too about it, and then once news broke, it was like, okay, that makes sense.
Right.
But to do it in front of an empty crowd, and I know they're taping episodes now, and in fact with the TakeOver news too.
Yeah, so of course with everything going on, the NXT TakeOver, when I read was postponed. It sounds like it's canceled at this point because it was announced by Sports Illustrated that starting April 1st, over the course of the next couple of weeks, the matches that were supposed to have taken place on NXT TakeOver Tampa will be taking place on NXT broadcast.
Perfect.
Yeah.
No
free NXT TakeOver matches on free TV.
You can't go wrong with that.
No.
Especially how great the TakeOver cards are to be on free TV and to make, like I say, the best of a bad situation.
Yeah.
I can't complain about this,
No.
and I'm all for it.
No.
And like I say, if they want to do this down the road in front of an audience, hey, go do it. I'm not going to fault anybody for having a redo card, like a WrestleMania Rewind.
Sure.
obviously with what's going on, we have to adapt to the situation.
Oh God, yeah.
So they are playing this right, and I know that they're rumored that they're taping show matches for those cards right now.
Right, which I know that's something Johnny Moose, owner of Excite Wrestling, brought up on his Facebook page. Like, you've got this opportunity in time to tape these matches and make them the absolute best they can. Do it.
Yes, because we don't know if there's going to be more shutdowns. Obviously, with the ever-changing environment that we are living in right now, it's better to get everything recorded. So in case they say, hey, we got to do a complete lockdown,
right?
You have something in the can that you can just air on TV and still provide that entertainment.
And things are, like we said, are so up in the air. I know there was a report the other day that there was kind of doubt and speculation about whether Brock Lesnar would be able to be in it because of the United States had shut down travel between Canada and the United States, you know, jointly with the Canadian government, because Brock Lesnar, spoiler alert, lives up in Canada.
Right.
And so there was a lot of doubt and a lot of question with that, but Brock Lesnar, obviously, as we saw last night, is stateside. So there's no worry about that. And I know other people were worrying about Kevin Owens, since he is Canadian. He's from outside Montreal. But fear not, he lives down in Florida. So
right. So the wrestlers are doing what they can to keep the show going, which, like I say, and I can't stress enough, the show will go on. This version might not be what everybody expects, but it'll still provide that entertainment. And do not be surprised if we talk August, maybe a replacement for SummerSlam. We talk between September and October if it's in a warmer state, much like if the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are not playing,
right,
they do a makeup show at Tampa.
Right.
It's not to say it's out of the realm of thought that they wouldn't do something like that.
I could very easily see them doing that.
Yes, because I think it's a smart move for everybody involved.
Yeah.
And I also have to applaud what AEW did this past week. Now, they did have a show down in Jacksonville. I believe it was the same place that they had the Fight for the Fallen card.
Okay.
And what they did is they still had their full show, even with Pyro, which I was very surprised to see.
Sure.
But Cody Rhodes came out and addressed the crowd, and he gave a very good speech. I didn't think it was the greatest thing I ever heard, which I know if you go on wrestling Twitter, sometimes it goes a little too much Kool-Aid as we talk on the wrestling show, that everybody's saying this was the greatest speech ever of all time.
It was a good one.
It was a good speech, and it definitely set the mood, what they were going to do on the show. And one thing I have to applaud them on is they had their wrestlers that were there come out and be the crowd.
Oh, my God. I thought that was brilliant.
I thought it was very good. I know that when we talked on the wrestling show, Rich was saying it felt forced, and I can understand that point, too,
Sure,
because some of the wrestlers were just really...
They're hamming it up.
They were hamming it up and not really into it. I will say this, though. The MJF commentary, my God,
so good,
was so good. Just from everything from the Let's Go Mask guys and the Lucha Brothers were in the ring to making fun very loudly of Cody's awful, awful, awful neck tattoo was perfect. Even Sammy Guevara's singing of Judas when Chris Jericho came down was brilliant. And I will say this, and I have to say AEW did an amazing job with their show this past Wednesday.
Right.
They had the two debuts. Brody Lee, aka or formerly known as Luke Harper, came down as the Exalted One, which was the big swerve of all sorts.
That was a curveball.
That was a very big curveball, and you know what? I liked it. A couple things to take away from that, though. They did botch up the camera shot with him walking to the ring. If you really watch that, not the end of the world, but if we're watching, we're watching.
The details.
And he did take a shot of Vince McMahon, which to be expected.
I did love looking at Twitter when he was debuting and they were running that whole video package, and the general running joke on Twitter, and this wasn't a joke at him, it was just a funny poke at the WWE character, that a lot of people are going, oh my God, he can talk.
Yes. And he cut a very good promo, and then he did the fake of the Sister Abigail Bray Wyatt finisher into his spinning clothesline.
Well, and even Bray tweeted, I want to say it was either that night or the day after, where he goes, I guess it's just me and Rowan now.
Yeah. So obviously they're supporting him down there, and I think he's going to do big things down there too. He's always been able to talk. He always should have got a better push than he did in WWE.
He did break his streak though. He forgot to tweet out what day it was on Sunday.
Well, he's having Uno do it for him.
To
remind him. Which I love that Twitter exchange.
Evil Uno's sticking to his guns.
Yes, which it's perfect, and how they did that one was very good, and how they did the Matt Hardy reveal, which everybody was expecting him to be the Exalted One. No, it turned out that he is now, I believe, the version of Damascus that is the broken 2.0, and he came out with Vanguard 1 coming down to the ring.
Yep.
And it was kind of a weird thing because I think they rehearsed it for a live crowd.
Yeah.
And I know, like I say, we talk about this on the wrestling show all the time. if you're going to be in front of an empty crowd, like, he should have yelled delete or he should have done something. It was just like a weird.
You could tell that, like, when Vanguard 1 was hovering there, nobody was talking. So, like, you could tell that was the moment where, like, you're supposed to let the audience crowd filter through TV speakers, and you could just hear the crowd going nuts, and that wasn't happening because there was no crowd.
Yeah, so obviously they're trying to make do with what they had, and I applaud them for doing it. It was one of their better shows.
Yeah.
I will admit, I'm very critical of AEW because I want to see them succeed, but I think that they really struggle with their production work a lot of times. And to see that this was a step in the right direction, I thought was a very good one. And obviously having the wrestlers there, however it was, I thought helped the show.
Yeah.
Not saying it was the greatest, but it was arguably their best show they've ran. And they have announced that the Blood and Guts cage match has been postponed.
Right.
So that won't be happening anytime soon.
Right, and I know some people online were throwing up a stink about that, especially Chris Jericho. And Chris Jericho goes, listen, the recommendation out there is to have no more than 10 people in a room or a place together. And if you talk the Blood and Guts match, you're looking at 11 with the cameraman, and that's before we get to any of the crew members that have got to be ringside.
Yeah. So obviously everybody's got to wait for that, and they're adapting to it.
Yeah.
And one thing to catch wind of, too, they did not announce that they were going to be coming back this week. They are, though, but they said on the next Dynamite, so they're not saying next week. So
right. Well, and that's very deliberately done. I know Tony Khan said something after last week's episode of Dynamite that, and I think Cody said it as well, it's just as fluid, like we said, as fluid as everything is and as fast as everything is changing with what's going on, you can't guarantee, not to sound negative, you can't guarantee there's going to be a next week's show because you could be planning next week's show and there's a complete shutdown of all travel for everybody.
Yeah. We just don't know what's going to happen for the future, but I will say I applaud both companies for running. I thought that they gave that entertainment value to us that obviously with everything going on, it was a nice break of the action. And
it's very nice to watch and not have the name of the virus mentioned because, and understandably so, it's getting a lot of mention in the TV and in the news and everything, and understandably so. I get it. I have no issue with that. Mm-hmm. It's just at times it's overwhelming, and it can feel like you're drowning a little bit in all the information and all the news and all the stuff going on. And it's nice to kind of like come up for that breath of fresh air of, oh, I can just watch a television program or watch something live and not have to worry about hearing about what's going on with this.
Yeah. So, obviously, they're trying to do what they can do to get our minds off it. We applaud both companies for doing it. We applaud all the wrestling shows that are doing it as well.
Yeah.
We can't stress enough, please be safe. Please be healthy out there. Do proper practices, because the more that we can stay inside is better. But if the show is going on, at least be as safe as possible so we can all get through this. We thank you for providing us that entertainment, and we'll have to see what happens now coming into the next couple of weeks, because with WrestleMania still slated to air.
Yeah.
With Rob Gronkowski as host, which is still weird to me. But
a little weird.
A little weird. He's got merch, but it is what it is.
Hey, speaking of merch, I do love the fact WWE is putting out merch for WrestleMania this year, and instead of I was there, it's I wasn't there.
Rich has a shirt bought.
Oh, that's great.
It is quite amazing. If you want to hear more about that, check out on the Three Fat Nerds Podcast Network, The Wrestling Show. I co-host that with Rich. And it is a fun time, and we deep dive into it. Rich has got a lot of hot takes for the current state of wrestling, too. So if you're a wrestling fan, you definitely want to check it out. And definitely interact with us. So what is your takes on the current state of AEW and WWE doing shows in front of empty crowds? Are you for it? Are you against it? And why? And what's your feelings about the new additions for WrestleMania? 2 nights, is it big enough, or should it just be scrapped? We definitely want to have that conversation, so hit us up. Let us know. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back.
Ted Bundy murdered my dad's friend's sister in 1974 while on his reign of terror in Utah. At least, Bundy admitted to killing her just before his execution, but police were never able to locate her body. That's the topic of just one episode on Straight Up Enigmas, a podcast to explore the unexplained. We discuss the mysterious deaths of the Jameson family, share terrifying true stories from real people about sleep paralysis, and explore Cleopatra's missing tomb. I'm Jaden McKell, and I'm the host of Straight Up Enigmas. Our bite-sized, bi-weekly episodes focus on the world's strangest mysteries. Sacred and Sonic Geometry, the murder of Karen Silkwood, Turkmenistan's door to hell, the curse of the Omen, and much more. Listen and subscribe at Apple Podcasts or wherever you find podcasts.
2, 3, 4!
Hey, this is Johnny Moose from Excite Wrestling, and you're listening to the ODPH. I didn't mess it up. I thought I would. Right now, back to the guys.
Coming back for the third segment on this edition of the ODPH podcast. And Pat, you came across this topic over our social media?
Yeah, so a couple people hit me up and were asking, hey, I know you guys are looking for topics. So, they threw this idea out to me, because sports are a little slow right now.
Mm-hmm.
No March Madness tournament, no spring training baseball, no NBA season, no NHL season. So they were kind of wondering, what are your guys' top 5 or top 3 favorite sports moments you have seen? Because it'd be easy to go through, what are your top 5 favorite sports moments? And then just list everything, and maybe half of them are not from when we were born or what we saw. So I'm going to throw it to you. What would you say are your top 5 or top 3 favorite sports moments that you have seen?
That I've seen on TV. We're not talking live in person.
We can go either or.
Okay. In person is kind of tough because I've gone to see when Peyton Manning was playing in Indianapolis. I saw him play at Rich Stadium against the Bills.
Okay.
So that was a kind of cool moment, going down to see Jeter play at the stadium, obviously with the Yankees, and kind of seeing when the core group was there with Jorge, Mo, Pettit and such. So
you've also got to see a Judge home run in person.
That is true. I got to see Aaron Judge on his rookie year hit a home run, which that was actually very cool to see the All Rise movement take off. So to see the Major League Sports in person is an indescribable experience, and especially I've been lucky. I've gone to a bunch of New York Ranger playoff games down there. So when you pose this question to me about that, I was thinking in person, playoff hockey trumps everything. That is an indescribable experience. If you have a team and your team is in the playoffs, it is absolutely wild. And on a local level, when the Binghamton Senators were on the Calder Cup run, to be at that last home game before they went to Houston, was just an indescribable feeling that obviously the cup was just almost back here. And to be a hockey town and to be that close to winning is just insane. So I would say that for in person, that is my big sports moments. But for watching as a fan, I will say in order, watching on TV, Michael Jordan hit the shot over Craig Elo.
Okay.
And the infamous shot, and my dad, God rest his soul, being the diehard Cleveland fan that he is.
Yep, this is true.
And seeing his jaw drop and just witnessing that Michael Jordan gets that inbound, fakes out Elo, nails the shot, and the fist pump after is an image I will never forget watching. And just to see that this is the moment for me personally, because I do watch college basketball, but I'm not like a diehard fan to the degree of like a Coach Duffy.
Sure.
So I didn't really follow Jordan in college. I just knew he went to North Carolina and didn't like him because I'm a Duke fan. But to see him on that pro level hit that, and just that killer instinct to nail the shot on the line and just everything, that was the moment I knew like Jordan was there for me personally. Like it was just, because being a young kid at the time, you don't appreciate that kind of greatness when it's going on.
Right.
And to see how he progressed, and obviously, running through the Knicks as much as he did, and everything from the flu game to just how he could be that dominant and be that franchise player. And I still say he's the greatest basketball player of all time. That era that he played in is, in my opinion, the greatest. So when that was the kickoff for it. So for me, that's my number 5. Obviously, I got to talk some MMA on here.
Sure.
And I know that if anybody knows me real well, everybody's probably saying, oh, you're going to say the Bisping beating Rockhold for the middleweight title. No, I'm not, even though that was a personal favorite of mine. The greatest MMA moment, I would have to say, was Anderson Silva defeating Chael Sonnen in the 5th round with a minute left after getting dominated that entire fight. And this is during the peak of Silva's run as middleweight champion.
Yeah.
And this is when he was just untouchable. And to see Chael Sonnen come out of nowhere after he came in from the WEC and the nonsense that was going on there, and how he was running through people to get that title shot, and he was a relative unknown. And then this is when he went out of his way to just grind him out, embrace the grind as the wrestling term is, and really show that Silva could be defeated.
Yeah.
And the only thing is, with a minute left, he took his eye off the prize, and he was trying to do just coast to the win. And that's when Silva got him in that triangle. And I was like, oh, my gosh. just the emotion going through that. Like, I forget how many people we had at our watch party at the time, and just you heard everybody losing their mind.
Yeah.
It's an incredible feeling. Like, I think the only other time was when John Jones won the light heavyweight title from Shogun.
Right.
Because at the time, obviously, where John is from, he's from our hometown. It's a big deal.
Yeah.
And everybody was just losing their mind that night. But for me, it is Silva defeating Sonnen. And just goes to show, man, you can't count a fight till it's over.
No.
So that is number 4. Number 3 has to be 1992 Final Four.
Okay.
Christian Laettner nailing the shot.
Yep.
Over Kentucky.
Let's say, or is anyone in Kentucky is currently saying Christian effing Laettner.
Yep. Nailing that shot. I've never seen anything like it.
Great 30 for 30, by the way.
Oh, yeah. It's incredible. To just that whole team that Coach K had at that time with Grant Hill and Laettner and Hurley and all them. Just to see how that young that team was, and Laettner pulling that shot off, and how, like, I don't want to say calm he was, but that was some ice water in those veins. Because it wasn't even expected to be anywhere close, and let alone he had a bounce in. People don't realize that he actually got a dribble in to plant.
Yeah.
Insane.
Oh, yeah.
So to see that happen completely blew my mind. I'll give an honorable mention to Messier calling Game 6.
Okay.
Because for me, that's just a moment. I will say number 2, and this will kind of go into 2016 being a big year for sports. The Cubs break it in the curse.
Yeah.
Not to say when Boston broke it, absolutely broke me because the Yankees choked a 3-0 lead in that playoff series.
So that year was rough for me just because I had a teacher who I was very good friends with that was a Boston Red Sox. Well, from the Massachusetts area, has since moved back there, but he was a high school teacher of mine. Diehard Boston Red Sox fan, and that was the year, if you remember, I want to say it was in late July or maybe August was when they went up into Boston and had the quote-unquote Boston Massacre. It was like the 5-game sweep. It when like the race was at its hottest, and just as much as my friend and I ragged on him about that, it was very unbearable for me for the next couple of months.
Yeah. Just that moment in time, too, is just so surreal for Boston winning. Just being a Yankee fan, and you know about the curse.
Yeah.
You see the Buckner game and all that with, when they had the Mets on the ropes. And just to see the Yankees choke that.
Mm-hmm.
And
all because of stolen base.
Yep. And it was just surreal to see. But for the Cubs to do it, with all the teams that they've had, and they had great teams prior to that.
Yeah.
When they had Mark Pryor and Kerry Wood as the 1-2 combo. And the whole Bartman gate.
Yeah.
And just
5 outs away.
Yeah. And you thought, like, okay, that was their year, and then it didn't. And it's like, what could they possibly do?
Sports Illustrated, if you can find it on the web, did a great article. I want to say it was a couple of months or a couple of years after that game, where it was like, because both the Red Sox in Game 7 and the Cubs in Game 7 of those LCSs were 5 outs away.
Yeah.
And if you can dig it up on the internet, maybe it's posted somewhere that you're able to find. It's a great article.
But just the fact that, who was that team the Cubs beat?
Or they lost to no, they beat. It was who was it?
Cleveland.
Cleveland. Yeah.
So you knew somebody's streak was going to end. So just that whole time of baseball, both those teams played their asses off too. Mm-hmm. But for the Cubbies to do it, and just remember how surreal, like, the curse is finally broken.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't know about the curse, I highly recommend you do some Google searching, and you just know the long-suffering fans that were at Wrigley Field.
And I would have thought that Bartman would have come out of hiding after that, but nobody's seen him since.
But for what happened,
I get it.
I get it. I feel bad for him.
Yeah.
Because that wasn't on him. It's just
wrong place, wrong time.
Exactly. So that's a tough situation. That's what we call toxic sports history right there. And I feel very bad for him. But with the Cubbies winning, finally, all is forgiven, and it's a different world out there now with them.
Mm-hmm.
So that being said, my number one sports moment had to be summer 2016. LeBron leading the Cavs back against the Golden State Warriors in that wild-ass Game 7 where we were watching Money in the Bank, I believe.
One of the pay-per-views,
One of the WWE pay-per-views at Vinny. Shout out to Vinny at his watch party, and I was literally on my phone watching that game, and the last 3 minutes of the game, buffering stopped.
Yep.
And then finally came back and seeing LeBron block the shot, and the rest is history. For me, it's a very emotional thing because, like I said, when I just lost my dad a year prior, and when LeBron came back to Cleveland, I know he was super amped up to see him play, and he didn't get a chance to see him win the chip, but to see LeBron get that chip finally, it was just one of those like real emotional moments that like I just never forget that moment and just being in shock. And I could almost imagine if he was still alive, he'd probably been down at the parade with J.R. Smith.
Oh, easily.
Shout out to P. Darrow.
No, yeah, that game got over, and you had a very emotional reaction, and a lot of you did your thing, and people were kind of wondering. I remember a couple people were like, "What the hell happened? What's going on? Why is he doing that?" I'm like, Cleveland just won.
Yeah,
I was like, Cleveland just won a title.
Yeah, for anybody that knows me, they knew what was going on. I must have had about 45 messages on my phone that night checking.
Yeah.
And I'm like, it goes to show just how you can get so emotionally connected with sports.
Yeah.
Like it serves as a great escape for everyday life. And you have those moments in history that you always remember where you were. And my family has always been very sports oriented, being fans and going to games. And so for me, and it's just been like second nature. So I mean, that's my top 5.
All right. For me,
what about you, Pat? Yeah.
For me, locally, I'm just going to say, three things that stick out. I forget what year it was, but it was one of the first few years the Ottawa Senators were down here as the parent team for our local hockey club, and they were having like a fan kickoff event, something or other. There was games, there was this, there was that. And that's when you could go down there and sign up for your season tickets and all this. And they were off, my grandmother, God rest her soul, took me down there to check things out, meet the mascot, meet some of the players and this and that. And they were advertising that the parent clubs were going to come down and play an exhibition game. And it was going to be the Ottawa Senators taking on the Buffalo Sabres.
Oh, yeah.
At the arena. And she's like, do you want to go? And I was like, yeah. I was like, I've never been to an NHL game. I was like, I'd love to see it. So I remember going to see that, and that was a lot of fun. And that was a very odd crowd, just because if you ever go to a hockey game in Binghamton, you'll have some fans from whatever opposing team is traveling in. That's to be expected. But it's very much like a 95 to 5% skew in terms of fans, like 95% Binghamton fans, 5% whoever's visiting. This was very much like a 55-45, whatever you want to call it, 60-40 split. It was a very interesting split, because I remember at one point there was a couple of fans a few rows in front of us who were Buffalo fans, and they were chanting, "Let's go Buffalo." And there was a couple of Ottawa fans up behind us going, "Screw Buffalo, go Ottawa." But I just remember that game very clearly. It didn't mean anything. It was an exhibition game. But I just remember that was the first year that Antoine Vermette, who played his first couple of years down here in Binghamton, got up to the majors and was in the NHL. And I don't remember what the score was, but Binghamton was down like a goal or something like that. And it was late in the third period, and the entire arena chanting, "Send out Antoine." And they eventually sent him out. That was awesome to see. Another one that sticks out is going down to Yankee Stadium, new Yankee Stadium, I should say, and getting to see Mariano Rivera pitch. I only got to see him one time before I went to see him. I got to see him pitch. I'd only been to one other Yankee game before, and they got blown out in that game, so he didn't come in to pitch. But getting to see Mariano pitch and just being amped up for it, like I crossing my fingers to get him to see him pitch. And I don't remember what the score was, but they had a 3-run lead, and I never wanted the Yankees to get 3 outs faster in my life. Like I'd always wanted them to score runs and blow people out and do this and that. I just remember being at that game with my brother and going, "Dear God, just strike out, swing 3 times, hit 3 outs, just get out, get out, get out." And I just, they went into the 9th inning with the 2-run lead or whatever, a 3-run lead, and just that music hit. And I cannot describe what that is like. Just to hear the opening guitar riff of Enter Sandman on stadium speakers turned to 11.
Yeah.
Goosebumps. It was top 5 coolest moments of my life. Just I can't even express it. Another one I got to mention for locally is just some of the players we've gotten to see come through in Binghamton for the Ponies and the Binghamton Nuts. Getting to see David Wright play, Corey Lytle, rest in peace. Getting to see him play here. Getting to see Jose Reyes have a couple of rehab assignments down here. Just going out to local minor league baseball and some of the faces you come through here. I mean, I remember the one year Daniel Murphy, whoever he's playing with these days, played a game here in Binghamton. You know, and I remember saying, I'm remembering the name, and I'm flipping channels like 3 days later after the game, and I'm passing the SNY, the channel that broadcasts the Met game, and I just hear the announcer for the Mets go, Daniel Murphy rips the ball to the left field. I'm like, wait, what?
Yeah.
You know, you never know who you're going to see down here in Binghamton make it up to the majors. I mean, I got to see Gary Sanchez play here with the Trenton Thunder when they were playing the Binghamton then Mets. So that's always cool to see.
Yeah, like Tebow, Pete Alonso.
Yeah, Pete Alonso, Tebow. You know, definitely some names that have come through here that it's just cool to see them go on and
absolutely
have big success in the majors. Moving on to my top 5 sports moments I've seen. Number 5, I've got to say, is probably Aaron Boone's home run in the 2003 playoffs against the Red Sox.
Ooh, beautiful moment.
I was a freshman in high school. That game was on a school night. I told my mom, I don't care what you say. I am staying up for this. This is a do or die moment. I was in marching band at the time, and the game was going on while we had marching band practice. And like I said, my band teacher, who was the head of the marching band, was a Red Sox fan and was very happily giving us updates for the majority of that game.
Yeah.
You know, and I was real nervous and real worried, and then just to see that walk-off home run and just the thrill and joy that came with that. Cannot top it. Cannot be beat. Got to say, number 4 has got to be Syracuse UConn 6 overtimes.
Oh, man.
That was, again, a lot of these moments took place on a school night. I was in college. I want to say it was my sophomore year of college when that was going on. And again, school night. And I stayed up for that. And I'd actually convinced a buddy of mine. I was like, you got to check this out. I'm like, because he's a basketball fan. I was like, you got to check this out. This is insane. I go, you know, this is like watching a heavyweight boxing match. Like, nobody can pull away from this. And it went in the first overtime, the second overtime, third overtime. Halfway through the third overtime, he goes, "You're a son of a bitch for making me watch this." I go, "Why?" He goes, "Because I can't turn it away now. I got to watch how this ends." That game went till I want to say 2 a.m.
That's crazy.
It went on so long that I remember whoever was on the call at that point was kind of discussing, this game has got to get over soon, because if it goes any later, the New York City subway system is going to shut down, and you're going to have a lot of people trapped in the city.
That I just remember watching that on TV and just like, are you kidding me? Like, this is still going on?
I hated Paul Harris for probably about 10, 15 minutes when he couldn't nail a shot from inside like 5 feet.
Mm-hmm.
You know, but that was easily, you know, one of the coolest moments I've ever seen. What were we up to? 3. Got to be Yankees winning the 2009 World Series.
Yeah.
Just with all, you know, they won the one in 2000, and then you had the failures in 01 and 03, and just the years of, like, you know, missing out or not getting that far, and just, you know, starting to wonder, is the magic gone? You know, are they no longer the team they used to be? You know, I remember watching that World Series and, you know, watching with my dad, and they were getting to the final out, and my mom, and my brother and sister were all upstairs asleep, and my dad was sitting there watching. He goes, "Now, when they get this out, don't make too much noise." I go, I cannot make any promises. I've been waiting almost 10 years for this.
Yeah.
You know, so to finally see them do that, you just can't put into words, you know, what it was like. Number 2, got to be WrestleMania 30, just simply because that was my very first pro wrestling anything I'd ever seen.
Yes.
You know, so that was very memorable. And being the one that caused the Undertaker's streak to get broken, you're welcome.
Yeah, that is true. We need to make sure we stress this point. Pad started watching wrestling right around that time, and that was his first WrestleMania, so he is taking credit for the Undertaker streak.
My very first WWE pay-per-view was WrestleMania 30, so if you're going to blame anyone for the Undertaker streak getting broken, you can blame me.
Oh, my God.
So
a good time.
That was easily up there. I got to say, number 1, though, it's hard to pick one of the 6, but I got to pick when the Patriots beat the Falcons in the Super Bowl. Just, you know, the watch party we were at, where it was very, I think, out of everyone, well, how many people would you say were there? Like 15, 20 people?
You had 20.
20 people. 18 of them were rooting for the Falcons.
Yeah.
18. There was 2 people rooting for the Patriots. That would be myself and the gentleman who was hosting the party. Everyone else was rooting for the Falcons to win, and I heard it for the first 2.5 quarters.
Yep.
So to finally, you know, see that comeback and see that win in overtime is just something I will never forget. And every time I got the shirt they sold after the Super Bowl win, I still wear it to this day. And every time I pull it out of the drawer and I put it on, a little sense of happiness in myself.
Yeah, I know a couple Falcon fans out there, and anytime you mention those digits in consecutive
28-3.
Yeah, you can talk about issue 283, and still they get mad.
Yep.
So it just goes to show, how much sports impact you, and those moments really make a lot of great memories. I mean, depending on what side of the fence you're on with your team, but when you have those moments where, like, your team wins or your player does something, like your favorite player makes a memorable, you know, moment, it just resonates with you and it always sticks. I mean, that's kind of like how we got rolling into doing a sports talk show. We just like talking sports. But it's those kind of moments that really stand out. And it's always just fun to recap them, too.
Mm-hmm.
I always block out the 2009 World Series, though, with the Yankees because A-Rod was on that team.
Oh, yeah. That was the one postseason he did good in.
Yep, I know. And I just, for some reason, I know we won that year, but I blocked that out.
They take solace. He didn't win MVP. Matsui did.
Yeah, number 13 was on that team. That's how I refer to it as. But there's just so many more memories going on with that. Why don't you hit us up, ODPH Society, and let us know what you think should be in the top 5 of favorable sports moments. We gave you ours. We definitely want to hear yours. So hit us up on those social media accounts, hashtag ODPH, and let us know. And especially hit up Coach Duffy. We're hoping to get his posted as soon as this episode comes out. Over under about Charlie Weiss being signed to Notre Dame, Pat.
Over
by a long shot.
Lock it in.
Yo, Coach is going to have so much to say on Twitter. It's going to be fun. At Coach Duffy11 and especially at OD Parlay Hour. So we're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back.
Hi, this is Tyler from Second Suitor, and you're listening to the ODPH podcast.
I want you to get it. I want you to understand. I'm doing the best I can, but not as good as I want to be. I just want to get it. I just want to comprehend that I have to make amends with the monster.
Coming back for the final segment on this edition of the ODPH podcast. So let's get into a local minute, shall we, Pat?
Yeah, not really too much going on. Things are kind of status quo with the C19 virus going on, and sports really haven't kicked back up yet. I do know the Binghamton Rumble Ponies, each day or whenever the games have supposed to have been played, have been simulating their games on the video game MLB The Show 20. So definitely something fun to check out. I know for whatever reason, their last game that was played that I think they posted this morning or yesterday, Tim Tebow for whatever reason was playing with the Rumble Ponies. Not quite sure why, but hey, video games. So that's definitely something to check out over on their Facebook page. I'm not entirely sure the Devils are still doing theirs because I haven't really seen anything in the last couple of days about it, but hey, who knows? Definitely keep posted to their social media and all the social media for your local teams to find out when they're going to be resuming play again, hopefully very soon.
Yes, so definitely keep your eyes on your local sports wherever you're at and support local too. We can't stress that enough. Whether it's a local artist, whether it's a local business, a local restaurant, we definitely are pushing the hashtag support local movement. If you can get out there, support them, buy merch, buy gift certificates. You know, if they're doing takeout delivery, try going and supporting them as much as you can. I know everybody is going through the C19 situation right now, so we're just trying to extend support to everybody and just really promote that support local movement. So, Pat, let us get into, I would say, our normal rounding the bases, but one thing we're going to really just kind of switch up for this is instead of giving you a news article, we're just going to kind of search Twitter for a little one-liner to kind of put a smile on your face to end the show on.
Sure.
So, Pat, you want to kick us off?
Sure. Well, of course, today being March 24th as we record, it is one birthday for one of the best quarterbacks of all time, one of the best quarterbacks of our generation, that being Peyton Manning. So the Indianapolis Colts tweeted out, "Happy birthday 18," and then a kind of collage of Peyton Manning photos when he was with the Indianapolis Colts. One of the Patriots fan accounts I follow, it's at Pat's Pulpit. They are the SB Nation fan page for the New England Patriots, quoted that tweet and said, quote, "Happy birthday to the second greatest quarterback of his generation."
Oh, well played.
Tweet of the day, and that was at 9:30 in the morning. Tweet of the day.
Incredible. For me, I had to make a quick note that ESPN has been airing past WrestleManias.
Doing very well in the ratings, I should add.
Yes, doing very well in the ratings. So they did the encore presentation of WrestleMania 30, your first WrestleMania this past weekend.
You can't blame me for Undertaker losing in that one. It's a re-air.
It's a re-air. And ESPN tweeted out Triple H's entrance, where he came out in the big Skeletor armor.
Yeah,
and
with Sasha, Alexa, and Charlotte beside him.
Yes. And his response to that, he quoted the tweet on March 22nd and said, "Just an FYI, that entrance costume was super heavy, like 45 pounds. My legs were shot. That's the only reason Daniel Bryan beat me."
Oh, I got it. Oh, see, now I'm just remembering Batista responded something to that, and I got to dig it up.
Yeah, it's truly incredible, and especially if you get the chance to watch the replays of WrestleMania, ESPN is going to be airing them the next couple weekends, going right into WrestleMania on April 5th. So definitely check it out if you're having a little wrestling withdrawal.
Oh, here we go. Dave Batista quoted that and said, quote, "And I got shit for wearing blue." Eye rolling emoji.
Incredible, folks.
Blue Batista.
On that note, the music you heard on this episode is that of Fair City Fire. You can find out all about them on OchoDuroParlayHour.com under the music section, where you can also find out about Shout at the Robots, Floodlands, Walking Distance, Second Suitor. And we also have to give a quick shout out to Yard Party, who is going to be coming on the ODPH at some point. Obviously, C19 has thrown a curveball on our plans, but they have an EP coming out March 27th on all platforms, and they also created a Music for the 607 Spotify list.
Ooh.
So if anybody is saying, I'm kind of interested to see what you guys keep talking about, I haven't gone over the link yet, we are going to share that Spotify list over our social media accounts next couple days, so definitely check it out. And if you're interested in finding out more about those bands we just mentioned, head on over to the music section on OchoDuroParlayHour.com. While you're there, stop on over to the ODPH directory, where you can find out about Tom from Off the Cuff Gaming, who's doing a great live stream today. I was social chatting on it, and it definitely was a lot going on that channel. He is going to be appearing more on the ODPH as the C19 restrictions are lifted, so definitely going to have some interaction going into May with that. I'll get to May in just a second, but I also have to plug Excite Wrestling, who debuted their Excite Wrestling Classics channel on YouTube this past weekend. And we have to plug that on Saturday, March 28th at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Excite Wrestling is presenting Hardcore Hell.
Oh, boy.
And taking a look at the most violent matches in Excite Wrestling history. So, Pat, is there any match that you think might be on this that you want to give our listeners a little preview about?
I'm kind of wondering if the one involving Rob Cook, Nick Napoleon, and a staple gun is going to be involved.
Yes.
Oh.
That's already been advertised as the dog collar match.
Oh, God.
So that's going to be going on. The infamous steel cage match is going on, which was their version of War Games.
Yep.
I can only assume that the one with tables, ladders, chairs, and wire are going to be involved as well.
Oh, Jesus.
I can only guess. Now, do I know this for a fact? No. Johnny Moose has been very, very tight-lipped as he is under social media secrecy about this. He's really keeping the shows under wraps of what's going on. So for more information on that, excitewrestling.com, or head over to the Facebook page. You can find out all that on the ODPH directory, along with all the great podcasting groups that we are in. So shout out to Pod Nation. Shout out to the Apocalypse community. Shout out to Legion of Indie Pods. Shout out to NXTWAVE. And shout out to hashtag 607 podcasts, where you can check out everything going on with 8122productions.com. So you definitely shout out to Rich, Ron, and hashtag Big Natty Cool Diesel, who is on Twitter.
Oh, Lord.
Still giving you that hot take content that you come to expect at Big Natty Cool. And, Pat, dare I say, the Patreon is getting bigger for 8122 Productions.
Oh, no.
Love is Scary has 2 more bonus episodes that I know have been recorded.
Good Lord.
Yes. There is a reason we can't talk about them on these providers. Rich was actually hit on an email from a new subscriber, so thank you for subscribing to them, and was told, I now get why we can't talk about this on the air.
Yep.
Because when the Dr. Alovenomics, hashtag, the Ginger Juggernaut, hashtag, gets into the lab and starts cooking up all the crazy content that you hear on Love is Scary, it is truly an artist at work. $1 gets you in the door. $3 gets you a comfy seat at the table. I'm now hearing Ron is going to be spinning off and doing his own show of movie reviews, too.
Oh, boy.
Now, if you ever heard the end of the Three Fat Nerds podcast, you know Ron hits you with some of the best movie reviews you're going to find on the net. But now Ron is going to have an open microphone. What is going to happen there? I don't know. You're going to have to tune in and find out. So definitely stop on over. Check out everything going on with 8122productions.com, and definitely stop over to the wrestling show as well. That's the show Rich hosts. I co-host with him, and we go deep dive into everything in the world of pro wrestling. It is definitely worthwhile checking out. All of that, plus links to Livestream for the Cure, which is going to be going on May 27th through 31st on the Twitch channel from the Epic Film Guys podcast. Shout out to Nick and Justin. We are going to be a part of a great group of podcasters and content creators that are going to be raising money for the Cancer Research Institute to kick cancer's ass. That is worth the price of admission alone, so if you can donate, please donate, and definitely check us out, as it's going to be a hashtag 607 podcast takeover Sunday, May 31st from 1 to 2 in the afternoon. I'm going to be in the studio with Rich from Three Fat Nerds and Tom from Off the Cuff Gaming and whoever else is stopping by. I'm hearing rumors that we might have some cosplayers stopping by.
Ooh.
I'm hearing rumor that Diesel is grabbing a microphone and jumping in.
Good Lord.
I don't know what's going to happen on this show.
Does he realize it's not edited, that it's going out live?
We're going to find out.
Oh, boy.
So definitely stay tuned for that as it comes on Twitch when it comes out in May. But for more information on that, and I can't stress enough, check out livestreamforthecure.com. And if you need a link there, head on over to ochoduroparlayhour.com because we have got you covered. That's all I got for this week. So for the one and only Padawan J.
Thank you.
I'm your host, Ken M. Stay safe, stay healthy, stay inside, and thank you as always for listening to the ODPH podcast, better known as the Ocho Duro Parlay Hour. We'll see you next time.